because I feel like this is like very warm weather. But anyway,
Oh,
yeah,
yeah.
we are live. Hi, Nick. Welcome to Venture with Grace.
Grace, how are you?
I'm good. I
So
just
good
love
to see you.
you too. I just love your energy. I feel like your hat post is like has gone viral since then, or your co-founder's hat post of you.
Love working with Shine, my co-founder. We've known each other for 17 years. Used to be roommates.
Oh, wow, where?
Yeah, in Santa Barbara. So we worked at a software
fantastic.
company there, and have been friends since. And a few years ago, decided, hey, let's just build a startup. Started building in the restaurant space. Started building Avocado.
Yeah, I love it. I feel like speaking of avocado, first of all, like I super appreciate your dress slash skirt or slash this outfit. I was like, committing this outfit at this weather is it's basically a hot take.
I knew you were going to ask about this. It's kind of I'm a little bit frustrated. So we just ordered our merch, right?
Yeah.
And this is our logo. And I thought it was millimeters, but it was actually inches. And this was supposed to be, real small here. And we ordered like 500 of these T-shirts, and this is what they came out like.
Oh my God.
And non-refundable. So I guess this is just kind of what I'm wearing for the next, I don't know, a few years. But it does stand out. Yeah.
You know what? I feel like for Halloween, you need to send this to every restaurant, and then they're gonna like adopt your product immediately. I feel like.
I think you're right. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe we'll set a trend here, but it's comfortable at least,
I know it looks very comfortable, but just. Okay, so I'm gonna stop talking about your outfit for a second. Maybe we can talk about you're like, thank God. Okay, let's talk about like the real avocado, your company.
The real avocado.
The real avocado. Yes. So you guys basically recreated the point of sale system. And
Correct.
I feel like point of sale system has been there like for like a million years, right?
Yes.
Maybe we could start with like, what was the thought process behind it? And then obviously we can also talk about your big successful exit of Tile.
Yes.
Which, people actually recognize you at our dinner. They're like, oh, actually, like, they all know what it is. And I feel like that's such a accomplishment to like make people like realize what it is before. Like, most of the tech products, you don't see people talk about like a software or like hardware unless it's like, unless it's like a big at like.
Thank you. Yeah, it is funny with Tile. I mean, it's a household name. It's still kind of surreal to me. It's really funny. Like I kind of forget, at that dinner, people were excited. For a second, I was confused why people were excited to talk or meet me. And then I remember like, oh yeah, everybody knows Tile. To me, it was just like dig in and build the best item locator possible. And we really took off. I mean, it was deliberate. Like we knew this would take off as much as it did. But it's still just it's cool to see that people are excited about it and know of it, right? It's still like surreal to me to see a Tile on someone's keychain, a stranger, right? But obviously it makes sense. It's cool to be in this environment where you can build something and put it out there and really like change the world in your own small way. And so a lot of people are like, okay, so you went from consumer hardware to the restaurant space. Like, I don't get the connection. People want to see that connection, right? A lot of it came from a couple things, at least for me personally. I love things in the real world, physical things, right? Pure software plays are great, but it's just, I don't know, it doesn't do it for me. Like I need some physical aspect to it. At the same time, I didn't necessarily want to do consumer hardware. It's really hard when you're making money from the hardware itself. And then thinking a little bit about like what Peter Thiel recommends. If you want to build $1 billion company, look at a large industry where no one is happy with the current offering. And when you go into a restaurant, many of them hate their point of sale, like hate it, right? Or at least the company that provides it. No one loves it, right? And to me, that was a little bit of a challenge. It's like, no one's figured out how to build a restaurant point of sale that people love using. And you know, it's so easy to think, well, that's just not possible. Well, you think it's not possible till you see it actually done. Look at Linear. I don't know if you know the project management software Linear, right? That has the same or less functionality than Atlassian Jira, right? But you just love using it. It's just so snappy. It feels good, right? Even with Tile, I mean, before we launched, we had an early investor where we were telling them like, yeah, we want to make this item locator cool. We want to make it cool. We want to make that, you know, desirable. And this early investor said, guys, look, you can make a smartwatch cool like Pebble. You're never going to make an item locator cool. And we were like, F you. I mean, we didn't say that. He was like, just watch us, right? And we did. I think we did, right? And now with Avocado, I think we have made this something that's fun, that's desirable, that people literally enjoy using. We want, you know, running a restaurant is so hard that at the very least, the experience they have with our system, with Avocado, we want that to bring them some joy, right? And, you know, it can maybe be hard to justify that for a company, for a tech company. Like, you're supposed to solve real customer problems, right? Like, you're supposed to listen to your customer and then fix the specific thing. The greatest companies in the world sit and build something they're proud of. They don't just build the requests that they get from customers. They listen to them and think about a joyful solution to deliver to them. That's what we're doing.
I love that. I wonder, okay, so I want to explain to the audience like what it does. So basically,
great idea.
Kind of like basically, I mean, I wanted to show a demo, but the demo is like literally you and Shane talking. So like
oh yeah, us two dopes.
Yeah, if you want to showcase or something, we can do that. Or like I had just
Sure.
it since it's like a podcast, but like, so I think the TLDR is like, basically it's kind of like a Canva, but for your restaurant business. Like you can create a new menu, or like it can actually help you to create a new menu. You can share screen here.
Yeah,
so,
yeah. Why don't I pull one up? So, okay, the simplest way to say it is it's an AI native restaurant point of sale. And what is a point of sale? It's replacing Square or Toast. When you go and buy a coffee, what they're typing into on an iPad, right? That's the point of sale. And the name is a little bit misleading for people that don't know. That's a historical name. It's where you're actually making the purchase, but it's how restaurants run their business. It's a point of sale is the nerve center for a restaurant. It's basically their ERP, right? And every single restaurant needs it, right? People talk about achieving product market fit. We almost like started with product market fit. Every restaurant needs this, but how do we build this better than everyone else? How do we make it easy? Like, what does better mean? Easier to use, easier to sign up, easier to edit your menu. So again, Avocado is an AI native restaurant point of sale. Why don't I load it up and we can see some of the examples of what you can do with it.
Sounds great. I also I'm curious about like maybe for the restaurant industry, why is no one building this?
I mean, people have built point of sales that at the time they looked great. They looked so much better than what was there before, but that eventually fades. And then also it's really, really hard. There are so many different parties that you have to keep happy between the owner and the workers and the consumers coming into the restaurant. It's hard enough to just build one that works. To build one that people love, it takes like a lot of dedication and people that actually want to do that. Most people, they build something good enough, they hire their sales team, and they're like, just sell the crap out of this thing. I don't care how much people love or don't love this thing or hate it. Just hit those numbers. It's like Shine and I are seasoned enough now that we're just not interested in just kind of like just build another company and grow it and sell it for 100 million or a billion. Like, we want to take over the industry. What is broken about restaurant point of sale? It's $1 trillion industry, right? We just want to like permanently fix it. It's just a lot of work to get that right. So this is what it looks like. We're iPad based.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah. You want to share screen? We can also share.
Yeah. We 3D print our own stands.
Okay. Love.
3D printer back here. Yeah. The hardware in me is coming out, right? What I'll do is I'll screen share and show you the most interesting part of what we've built, which is the AI.
Love that. Meanwhile, I just want to say, I feel like it's like, I would imagine this is how the restaurants already been doing. So it's kind of like the iPhone experience for the restaurant industry. Then like, I guess like, I feel like the past like point of sale is like very kind of like old school. Okay, guys, you guys are seeing the demo right here.
All right, here we go. So this is dev. So we can do what we want. So that, you know, normal sales dashboard here, but let's go over to the AI assistant. Again, this is maybe the most interesting part of what we're doing now, right? And there are so many tedious workflows for restaurants. And it's so much fun when we onboard a new restaurant and their assumption is something like, all right, we have our menu. It's like half on handwritten paper and like kind of like half online on Square online ordering.
Like and unstructured data, basically.
What's that?
The unstructured data.
Unstructured, exactly, right? And they're like, can we just like, how do we send it over to you? How long does it take to upload the menu? And we do it live on the call in like 5 minutes. And they're shocked, right? Because we can take a link and give it to our AI, or we can literally just tell it what we want in plain English. So let's do something fun here. We're looking at a demo coffee shop, right? This is the menu. Come up with a wild new coffee drink that we could add.
We need like the avocado coffee, avocado latte.
Avocado latte is great. Cosmic velvet latte.
Actually, okay. This is amazing.
Is this cool, right?
Yeah.
And like what's kind of cool is that everyone knows restaurants. Everyone goes to restaurants and they enjoy it. So it's just kind of generally fun for people to see this behind the scenes with AI. Okay, I'm going to add this. Okay, love that. Add it to the menu. Also add some kind of avocado latte, whatever that means. Let's see, did we get voice? Okay, love it. Add it to the menu. Also add an avocado latte. So you can see that it gave me this result in text, right? But now it's actually looking at our menu, making calls to our database and adding this to the point of sale. So this is what the drink it came up with, the Cosmic Velvet Latte, and now the Avocado Latte. Love that it chooses colors for the buttons, right? Creamy blend of espresso, steamed milk, ripe avocado puree. I might actually try that. And I touch it on it, right?
Yeah. Okay, so does it give you like the recipe too? I know it gives you like a pricing point.
Right. So this is what's so funny is that since it's connected to an LLM, since it's connected, we use OpenAI. Anything that LLM can do, this can now do, right? Yes, it can come up with instructions on how to make each one of these, right? If it's a more complicated recipe, it can either come up with it itself and you can iterate with it together, or it can look at what you already have and how you like to structure your recipes, right? And then spit that out and match that. Yeah, so many of these workflows for restaurants, they're all in plain English, right? It's just a matter of putting the LLM, having the LLM meet the restaurant owners where they are, right? Let's see, how would I make the avocado latte? Give me instructions. And of course, this will just spit out text right now, right?
Love this.
All right, let's come up with a special Grace Gong drink.
Oh no. Oh
okay,
no.
I'm doing a live podcast with Grace Gong right now. Look her up online. Think of what kind of drink she would like, and then come up with a special drink for her.
Oh my God.
Searching the internet. What's it going to find, Grace?
I don't know. Oh my God. Oh my God. No. Sorry. Oh no. What? I'm dead. Oh
Venture Vigor Latte, inspired by Grace Gong.
Oh my God. I'm crying. Actually, it sounds pretty good.
That sounds pretty good.
It sounds pretty good. Yeah. Okay. I love your app. I feel like now I just need to actually open the cafe to like implement.
Yeah, let's go. Yeah, let's do it.
Wait, yeah, I feel like okay, so tell us more about like I feel like maybe we could talk about the GTM or like maybe I feel like the thing is like obviously you guys have built such a great product and then I saw that on your website you guys are already in like a bunch of restaurants. How do you kind of like tackle this space because it sounds like it's a very like decentralized space if that makes sense.
Yes. So this is what's great that most people do not see in the restaurant space. So many people think it's so hard to grow, right? But they kind of oversimplify everything and are not thinking about it from first principles, right? It's actually extremely easy to grow as long as you have a few things figured out. One is per customer, you need to make enough money. Point solutions are really hard to grow in the restaurant space because it takes a lot of time and effort to close a restaurant. And if you're making $20 a month, you're just not going to make it, right? Being a point of sale, we have an opportunity to make more. Now, most point of sales, they do themselves a disservice and do this race to the bottom and try and beat people on price, right? You're also not going to make it if you do that, right? You have to build something that truly is desirable for restaurants. And that's what we built with the ease of use, the service, and of course, the AI that you're seeing. I mean, we've shown this to people in the industry that have helped many other restaurants. And this expert we talked to recently, he said, it's pretty rare that I get excited about a point of sale, right? And so now that we have this desire in the product, we don't have to do this race to the bottom thing. And all the go-to market for the restaurant industry is already written, right? You hire excellent sales folks that are on the ground and you go, and you grab as many restaurants as possible. We're in the thick of that now. We're just now looking for amazing salespeople to grow our team, right? Now that's one leg of our go-to market. The second is social media has really come into its own now, right? Everything that we've just shown you with the AI is really amenable to putting together really fun, interesting videos on how you can run your restaurant differently, right? And so we're pretty bullish. We've really held back on growth, really deliberately to understand our restaurants and the product as well as possible. And we're just now kind of hitting that knee and sprinting to grow our number of locations. It was cool. I think back to our days at Tile about when we grew and how much we kind of held back. And then once we found basically the signal, we just leaned into the gas on that. And it feels a lot like that. Maybe I could tell you that the early days of Tile, what that was like when we launched.
Yeah, I would love that. I feel like I think you're such a great podcast guest because you kind of like self-serve your own like lessons. I love that. So I think like one thing I learn more about is like since like I feel like for Tile, you've been growing the company since like I guess like 2012, and then it's been like a while, and then you guys eventually was acquired. Maybe if you could like separate your like experience over the past like I guess 10 years or so, maybe like 9 or 8 years ago or so, like into like three bracket, like from, first of all, like the first like 3 years of like building the company to the middle of like growing it and then to eventually kind of like selling it. What does it kind of like look like for you? And also I feel like
Sure.
as a hardware founder, just to raise funding, like simply just raise funding, it's already kind of like a major like bracketing point on your resume just because of how hard it is. Maybe if you could tell us more about like what were like some lessons that you've learned there that you kind of apply into Avocado as well.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah. If you want to raise money in hardware, basically every between 8 to 12 years, VCs forget that hardware is hard. And so you just have to kind of time it well. Right now, we're going through one of those periods where VCs have forgotten that hardware, you're not supposed to touch it. And so you can raise money on hardware right now. That's like one important piece. Now, having said that, people have woken up to, you need to make money from subscriptions, from software, from something that's other than just selling a hardware. That's a whole other side note. But when I tell you about the early days of Tailwind, and there was something special going on when it was back in 2012, 2013. We launched in 2013 with crowdfunding campaigns, with pre-order campaigns, right? This was an unfair advantage that hardware companies, consumer hardware companies had for distribution, where basically you sell the product ahead of actually making it. Now, it's inherently really risky, right? But you can prove your market way, way early before you go to a factory, right? And so that was a big advantage. That's one reason there was such a boom of hardware companies, consumer hardware companies about 10 to 15 years ago, right? So I'll take you through a quick compressed timeline. It was in 2012, end of 2012, my co-founder, Mike Farley, and I quit our jobs, went all in on Tile. We wanted to build an item locator, a pure, beautiful, easy to use item locator. There are dozens on the market, maybe hundreds. They all kind of sucked. But we knew how to build it in a way that was usable, that people would be excited about using and buying. We raised $200K from Tandem, actually, you'd mentioned before. We spent nearly every dollar of that preparing for a pre-order campaign like Kickstarter. It was actually on our own website, like Kickstarter. And we had like a week of runway left by the time we launched that. But we had put together a beautiful video, really tight messaging, talked to a ton of press, and they all loved it. Set up an embargo so that we launched on June 20th, 2013. Beautiful landing page, tons of great press. People started coming to the site, started buying. But that very first day, we only got 20,000 in sales, which sounds great, right? But for the time and for what we needed, it really wasn't enough. And so we thought, okay, maybe it takes a little time for these things to go viral, right? So the next day we looked at it, which was a Friday, 10,000 in sales. Okay, well, maybe it'll pick up. And then Saturday, 5,000, then 5,000. And then it was just flat, right?
Yeah. So how much are you selling it for?
We're selling it for about $20 per tile. Most people were buying 4-packs. But like 5 days a week into the campaign, it was like flat. We had 50,000 in sales, and like we could produce it for that much, but like the thing was dead, right? And so we had to scramble and figure it out. And we dug through the numbers, and we saw that very first day, the guy who was running our social media, he bought $250 in Facebook ads to just kind of pad the sales. And we tracked them all down and realized we got about $1,000 in sales from those $250 in ads. We didn't budget in ads, like that wasn't part of our margin, right? But then we scrambled about a week and a half in, and thought maybe we can bear this cost. All right, tomorrow let's do another $250 in Facebook ads. And we ran that. And then that night scrambled in Excel. All right, there's about like another $1,000 in sales. Should we do it again tomorrow? And then we did 250 again the next day. And then we thought, tomorrow should we do 500?
You have become like I feel like the Facebook ads. Well, like what is the equivalent for that today though? Is that like TikTok ads or like what's a?
I don't know exactly, because that was so sharp and you could get the results of it so quickly and it was so clean. But I mean, you should find something like that. But it was great. We did 500, led to 2,000 in sales. Then we doubled it to 1,000, 4,000, and we kept doubling it. By the end of the campaign, on a single day, we ran $100,000 in Facebook ads and got $400,000 in sales. We had sold $2.6 million in tiles in the first 34 days.
That's crazy.
Crazy, right?
Yeah.
So you ask like, what's the equivalent of that? That I don't necessarily know. And actually, I really think it would be different for every other company. I think the lesson there, and what I keep thinking back to, is look for the signal, and everything that's not pure signal is noise, right? Mm-hmm. At that time, when we're running the campaign, like our inboxes were unbearably full. But it was like, focus, find the thing that got you to where you want to be and lean on the gas. And you lean on the gas and you get a ton more noise, right? But you just ignore it and you just slam on that gas. You make sure that you're not like digging yourself a grave, right? Mm-hmm. But when you find that signal, that is a gift from God. You slam on the gas and use that up as much as you can, right? Mm-hmm. That is my kind of advice. Whatever, like what that is, I don't know. You're going to have to, like, if you run a company, you're going to have to figure it out yourself.
For sure. I wonder, so like, I guess like for the current, like go to market for avocado, I feel like it's a little bit different because of like tile was more towards like straight up consumer, right? Yep. Also the price point is like probably a lot lower than something like avocado because of its like a actual software compared to like a tiny piece of hardware. So like, I guess like, how do you think about the go-to-market motion? And then like, do you directly sell to every restaurant, or would it be like, is there like some sort of like association, or do you have to go to like conferences, or like the salespeople have to go to conferences? And I guess like, how do you think about the margin as well? Like, how do you price a product? Would it be, since we talk about like, it's, you probably don't want to sell it as a commodity because of it's, you know, it is, the point of sale system is a commodity, but on the other hand, it's like, I guess like you don't want to kind of like brand it as like a very basic product. So like, how do you think about like pricing as well?
Yep. Early on, conferences are noise. We're talking about signal and noise. It's like the conference, it's in 3 months. And then like, you got to like pay for it to go and wait and use up a bunch of people. I'm talking about like dollars in, more dollars out, predictable, fast, right? Measurable. That's the kind of thing you should be looking for. That's not to say don't go to a conference. A lot of companies do well finding customers through conferences, and we may, right? But we want a machine. Every founder should find this machine that you can lean on the gas and grow. That's within your control, right? Mm-hmm. Now, for us, it's two things that we're looking at. It really is putting out an enormous amount of content and getting goofy with it. You can see the avocado costume I'm wearing today, right? And just pounding the pavement, right? And the piece with pounding pavement is you just have to have excellent metrics and watch those month over month, week over week, right? And if that's working, you just grow that until something breaks, and then you fix that, and then you just keep growing, right? Mm-hmm. Those are the two things that we're looking at. One of those two things, or maybe both of those, is going to be the equivalent for us of those Facebook ads for tile early on.
So for your current thing, I feel like I guess like what does a sales process typically look like for a restaurant? Would it be like you talk to the owner and then the owner be like, yeah, we're gonna use this today. And then how do you think about the like replacing the current point of sales? Like what is there any like friction, or do people just like hate it so much that like they want to change to something else immediately? And or like is there a kind of like convincing you have to do? How
Yep.
does that kind of look like?
So the thing you have to realize in restaurant point of sale is that most people are not ready to change their point of sale. You can't walk up to someone who's not ready to do it and convince them to do it, right? You have to just be present, be out there, and when someone's ready, they will come to you, or you'll just remind them of your existence, and they'll take a look, right? Usually, people switch their point of sale when they're just sick of their current company, that the customer service or the pricing, or they're looking for more features, right? You can't it's really hard to kind of convince someone to switch their point of sale. Cause like I said, it's like their nerve center, right? It's not just a tack on that maybe they will try that next month. The good news is though, there are 1 million restaurants in the US, right? And so if you look like the most modern, the easiest to use point of sale, people start coming to you. Yeah. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, for sure. I guess like the other part is like how do you kind of like spread the words? So is there like so obviously, when you're like really easy to use, like people could spread the word of mouth, kind of like get that going. But um I guess is there like any effective way like, as you mentioned, like each founder have to find their like the Facebook ad moment. What has been like things that you've tried and then that worked or like not worked?
Yep. The two things right now is just don't getting fancy or cute. Hire excellent salespeople that will pound the pavement and bring in more restaurants. It just works, right? The thing with that is your metrics have to be clean. You have to be on top of it, right? Now, the kind of wild card is the other piece that we're looking at that could be much more efficient, which is putting out content to explain, show why your point of sale is better. And people just start trickling in. Right now, it's a trickle. It's starting, the faucet's starting to turn a little bit, right? And so we just want to keep pushing that faucet wider and wider open. What that will look like in 6 months, whether we'll say like, look, ignore this piece, only focus on this, we will find out. But those are the two things we're looking at right now. Yeah, I like how you put it, to find our Facebook ad moment.
For sure. I wonder, so like I guess the other part is like I guess like when yesterday I was like chatting with managing director of Insight. So he was like hot take, like basically non-GPT, like basically GPT wrapper is not like a red flag for him. So like I feel like nowadays I feel like every industry, no matter what you're doing, a lot of the backend is just ChatGPT. And how do you think about building a moat? Just say like if another person who is maybe like nailed it on TikTok. I'm just like giving an example of like I feel like the current Silicon Valley SaaS dynamic is like, there's people building amazing distribution or like crazy launch videos. But like how like if someone is coming in with like a good quote unquote distribution or like marketing funnel to sell this exact product and then using the same kind of like also building something on top of ChatGPT, how would you say you would like make sure that you have the moat to kind of like keep on succeeding in Avocado?
Yeah. Okay. So there's a lot there, and I have a lot of like thoughts, I guess. One is that this whole derogatory, you don't hear it much anymore. You heard it a year ago a lot. This GPT wrapper, chat GPT wrapper, this like derogatory statement. It mostly came from VCs and from people that don't build and like to complain about other people. Meanwhile, founders are looking for distribution. They're looking to solve problems, and right. And that was like a great way to find a niche market, right? Really at the end of the day, the same things matter. Like, are you solving a problem for a customer? Are you digging in? Are you building up, like listening to feedback, changing your product, iterating fast, and making people happy. It's like all that matters. Whether you're a GPT rapper or not, like F you, like who cares? Like really what it's looking like, which should have been obvious from the beginning, is that yeah, you can do that in the beginning to be a rapper, but your product itself, there's much more to it to put that LLM where the customer is. Basically, like a lot of AI product companies or vertical AI companies now, their role is to have the LLM meet their customers where their customers are, right? So there are already there's our ERP software, there's tons of software that many industries use, right? And we're doing what we strongly advise other companies do, which is one, build a more modern, easier to use version of what they're already using, and then have the LLMs meet them where they are to do the workflows faster, right? It's kind of all you need to do. As far as distribution goes, like just take what distribution you can when it presents itself.
I wonder, so I guess like, what do you think about, like, I feel like for people who are building in this space, like, I think, how do you think about like the technology itself versus like the UI or UX? Because I feel like one thing about your thing is like, I feel like the UX is like very clean and then it's very consumer isk. So then like, you know, if you're looking at like the point of sale system, it normally don't have emoji or it looks very boring to a degree. So like, how do you think about like designing a product for the SaaS ecosystem, and like how much goes into the design, how much goes into like, you know, I guess like the technology moat?
Yep. It really depends on the industry, and there are many different ways to do something, right? People could argue on both sides. So then what is the universal advice, right? If you can make the argument for just build it, doesn't matter how it looks, functionality is everything, or make it beautiful, it can do less. I think the universal answer is actually just go with your gut. Do what you want to do.
It's
like
a major vibe check for life.
Yeah, well, right. Like, so we're in a phase right now where and it feels like tech has been a little bit dead for the past 10 years. With AI, with LLMs, there is so much that you can change, that you can build, right? And so maybe don't overly constrain yourself needlessly. Just if you want to focus on design and that's what excites you, and that's what excites you to sit there and work, and then excites you to like get on podcasts and talk about, right? Like, then just do it. I think we're in this phase now where people can kind of embody themselves in their own product. And so don't over index on what advice you get online from someone else on the way you should build your company. Just build it how you want to build it and go build it.
I love your energy. Thank you for this. Wait, I wonder, so like maybe when this time around, when you were building Avocado, what's your kind of like fundraising tips for founders? Since I feel like you went through the tile season, which is like, I feel like raising for a hardware company. Do you feel like this time, since you guys are hardware and software, like is this like an easier time around? Or how would you actually approach fundraising? Because every day I feel like since I started like doing the podcast, everyone's coming for like, you know, can you introduce me to XYZ? And like, you know, how do you think about these like kind of quote unquote warm introduction? And then, you know, on our show, there's also like a bunch of VCs. So like people would like raising their own VC funds, and then people were pitching like thousands of investors. But I feel like the major challenge is like, how do you even find like thousands of investors to pitch to? That's like kind of like another issue. So like, how would you kind of like run the fundraising these days versus like back in time? And then what were some kind of like lessons for fundraising?
Yeah, I mean, so it is a little bit different for both Cheyenne and me now, where the business is working. We don't need to fundraise as much. Like with a hardware company, we really needed a lot of funding, right? And now our revenue, like we're default alive right now, right? That's a good position to be in. What helps with fundraising is don't need to fundraise. I don't know if that's a good piece of advice, though. One piece of advice that I think a lot of people should heed that I don't hear very much is that it's best to wait till you get some random inbound from investors, because that means you have some spark of interest from someone. And as soon as that comes, put together a fundraising process and slam on it. There are some universal fundraising pieces of advice that I think still hold true, which is that you want to be either fundraising or not fundraising. If you're not fundraising, that means you are not taking meetings from VCs. You are maybe emailing them back and saying, hey, would love to connect. And they say, hey, can we just like do a quick coffee chat? And you say, no, I would love, like you want to, but like you have to focus on listening to your customers and building your product, right? And then once you snap into fundraising mode, that is all you're doing. And then you get an email from one of your customers and employees, and they say, hey, this is really important. Can you do this? And you say, no, I'm fundraising, right? To have that binary mode is really, really helpful. It's fundraising is really tough, really emotionally taxing, mentally taxing. It's a lot like, actually, this is an analogy I really like. It's a lot like a nuclear bomb. Where every meeting that you have is more fissile material. When you're setting off a nuclear bomb, you don't want any contamination material in there, meaning product meetings, vacations, like anything other than pure fissile material to get the highest yield. That is how you should view fundraising. And you don't want to use up any of that fissile material during any other time. You want to capture all of it. And then once you're fundraising, put it all together, slam it all together and raise your round. You'll get a lot of pressure, even from VCs, to kind of like not build your bomb that way, but that's how it should be.
Wow. I love that. I feel like that's kind of like contradictory to some of the people who are like always be racing. So like you're taking coffee chat. I feel like the most confusing part these days is like the founder who are telling you, we're about to close, but we can't actually make room for XYZ.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're actually not raising, but you're actually hearing them pitching at you.
So I mean, Grace, it's so much like dating, is it not? Where like you say these things, you mean one thing and you're saying the exact opposite, and the way it's received. I mean, you've heard that before, I'm sure, that fundraising is a lot like dating, right? Any investor, the number one thing they want is they want you to be wanted by other VCs.
Oh my God.
They don't care about your business. Don't worry about those details, right? They want to get the deal that other people can't get. And what I mean by dating is I mean like shitty dating, like poor decision maker, young. They just want the guy because everyone else wants them, right?
Like the breadcrumb people to like get into some zone. I don't know. It's crazy.
And like that's maybe an over exaggeration of it, but my take is the more you view it like that, the better off you are actually closing the deal, right? VCs, they want to see, and there's legitimacy to that too, is that VCs, they want to invest in a founder that knows how to fundraise this round and future rounds, right? And the better you are at this shitty game, the more valuable you truly are to a VC, right? And if you're just kind of wishy-washy and weak and you'll just take anybody's meeting, they kind of lose respect.
Oh my God. I wonder, so I guess like another question is like in terms of like, I want to switch gear a little bit for like the product side of things. So how many versions do you have to do to actually create the current version of the product? And I guess like I feel like for point of sales or for the category of, I think anything consumer facing is like, I mean, how much would you spend your energy on the product versus like fundraising versus like building your own team and or like generating revenue? And how do you like in terms of the product itself, like who would be the first like five customer that you talk to? Would it be like just like, there's like a restaurant down the street, I go there and then be like, hey, what do you want to like what do you want us to build? And then we'll build it. Or like what would be your question? Because I think people can describe the problem, but like it's very few people can actually build the solution that's like in a simple and like non-annoying way. And how do you even like feel like I feel like, for example, all these buttons, like they may seems like really simple, but like what to include, what not to include, and like what to, build on top of like, the current existing product, like a toast or something, versus like what are something that we want to innovate. How do you kind of like think about the stuff from a product perspective? Are you like a
Yeah.
product guy or are you like a fundraising guy, or like how do you define your superpower as a
I'm a product guy, and a little bit like a purpose and vision guy.
Mhm.
Um, and those are obviously very connected. Like I'm very much a product guy. Like when something is just beautiful and works so well, I just freaking love it. Right. Where for other people, it just doesn't do it for them. And so I'm always like kind of searching for that, like a clever way to do something better.
Mhm.
That early part, and I've heard this from other founders as well, where you have your first or your second customer and you're trying to build something that just works and you're getting all kinds of requests. It's so challenging because you will get so many requests that are critically important to them, but it's like, no one else wants this. And it's like, what do you do? Like you're going to waste resources building this thing just to keep this first customer. When it's like, God, this is a dumb idea, but they are demanding this, right? And I don't know if there's a universal answer for how you sort through that, right? Other than, it's software, so things can always be changed. You can always deprecate things later, right? You just kind of gotta build and be okay with if something isn't totally used and garbage collect later, and get to once you have one customer, get to your second customer, because things start to become clearer. You start to see the patterns between the two. And when you have two, get to your third. And when you have three, get to your fifth and get to your 10th. Then you start seeing the patterns between all of them. It's really tough when you have your first or second to understand exactly what you should build. Now, for consumer is very different. Pure consumer, consumers more, you are building something that you personally want to see in the world. And you listen to your customers a little bit less, about design or whatever, where a button should be. It's like, no, this is just like what I'm doing. I mean, the Steve Jobsian approach, we all know what he was like. Even from his own team, smart people on his team, I think it'd be better like this. And his answer was, shut the F up. I will tell you what it will look like, right? That is more appropriate for consumer. That's a little bit how I was with Tile. I did the initial industrial design. Really great designers thought it was great. And then a lot of consumers were like, these edges are too sharp. It's like, no, they're not. They're perfect.
I love that. I just need this level of confidence, I feel like, for life. How do you kind of like decide, like, I guess like the problem of like customer research is like, I feel like Tile is like such a simple product. Even like Avocado is like a really simple product. Like I think the problem is like you put it in front of a person, like you said, like at the beginning, it's like you doing the design and then you go out and like sell to people and that like listening to their feedback. How do you automating the process for like future employees? I think the major problem these days, like for any industry or any person, is like if you are like trying to like, I feel like any startup is like money constrained compared to, I don't know, like a ChatGPT or something. When you're hiring people, like how do you kind of like offload a part of your work, and then how do you find some people who are like willing to work as hard as you are, because I think that's the other problem of like being at a startup. Is like you're the founder, so you're like always on, you're always like, 996 or 997 every day. So like no one else will like work at this capacity to a degree. How do you kind of like find these group of people? And then do you feel like experience matter? So like how would you pay more money to hire someone who's like a very experienced person, but the experienced person typically are very, I wouldn't say lazy, but they're like more like being quote unquote efficient, so they don't work like 24/7, and then they're like more expensive. But on the other hand, there's like the untrained people who are like younger, hungry, but like they don't really know how to do stuff. So like which part would you kind of like sacrifice and which part would you kind of splurge on?
Yeah. So, like I was saying with Tile, since it was consumer product, I was much more of a tyrant on this is how it will look. And I want exceptional people that can make this a reality, right? Both my co-founder were really strict, Mike Farley and I were really strict on how things will look and feel and work, right? Now with this is a little bit different. One thing we're playing with a little bit is we have a huge backlog of things that we need to do and things that we want to do. And as we're hiring not for specific positions, except for sales, right? We're talking to people that come to us that are excited about what we're doing and finding out what they're really good at, and doing a couple meetings that are not interviews, just kind of like finding out about the person, what they're excited about, and then coming up with something that would be helpful for the company that we know they would nail because this is their dream. They've told us that. Like, what are you good at? What do you want to do in life, right? For example, we just did a call with someone. It was for either sales or marketing. Mm-hmm. But on this call, she's like, yeah, my dream is to start a restaurant. And then we started thinking like, what if Avocado just funded her restaurant? And the entire experience is just content marketing, showing her using Avocado and what it's like to start a restaurant. Like she is telling us that is her dream. Right. And if it's her dream, we know she's going to nail it. Right. Mm-hmm. She's going to put everything into it. And it's like, can we take people's dreams and just find a way for that to be helpful for Avocado? Right. That's what we're experimenting with a little bit now. I mean, a lot of people have their dreams. And if you just kind of like unleash people to realize their dreams, they're going to put in everything they can. Into building that.
I love that. Okay, so maybe we do one real question and the 1 minute fire round. I want to be mindful of the time.
Okay.
How do you like? I really like what you said about like maybe you can enable people to pursue their dream, but I feel like starting a restaurant is kind of okay. No offense, but like it's a little bit off track than like our traditional stuff. But I mean, I like the part of like, I feel like it's very creative and then it's also like very spontaneous and like, it's like, it may just work because of it's like a crazy like marketing or like go to market strategy. But how do you kind of like budget out like enough cash for these kind of like crazy experiments? Because I think like, what does it entail to like help someone like starting a restaurant? And then like, since like, maybe the software is like making, I don't know, 70% profit margin, but like it probably won't charge like a crazy amount because I think the day-to-day restaurant there probably don't have like crazy margins. Maybe I'm wrong. Like maybe they just have, maybe they do have crazy margins, but I feel like it's an industry that's like, we're not talking about like the software margin like at the restaurant industry, right? So like, I guess like how do you think about like which idea to pursue and then how much budget would you set for it as a CEO?
Yep. Yeah. Think about it from first principles as best as possible. So we'll take this particular, we don't know if we're going to do this. It was a crazy idea, but let's take this as an example where we're hiring someone to do marketing to put together video campaigns for us to explain the product to more people. Right. So, all right, how much would we budget to hire someone full-time for that? Right. How many thousand per month? Right. And then we're going to hire someone to like think of content that might be interesting, and they're going to spend their time kind of trying to figure that out. It'll take a few months. Like, why don't we just cut out the middleman? What we want is great content in a restaurant, someone struggling to start something, we like as authentic as possible. This almost feels like the cheapest, quickest, easiest way to get exactly that content is to instead fund someone, don't pay them, fund them to start their restaurant, and get all the content and the learnings that come with that, right? It's a little bit of like break out of the typical mindset of how you hire and what positions you hire for, and like, you know, put everything into a neat box. If you can be clever and find a way to get way more of what you want for way less, like, do it. It takes, you know, more thinking up front, but like, figure out what you want and find the coolest, funnest, cheapest way to get it.
I love that. On that note, maybe we will end with the 1 minute fire round for you.
All right.
What's your favorite book?
Okay, it's dorky, but the book that changed, and I don't like it anymore. I tried it. The book that opened my eyes years ago was A 4-Hour Workweek. It like opened my eye. Do you remember that book?
Yeah, of course. Tim Ferriss.
Tim Ferriss, right? It opened my eyes. Like, oh my God, you don't have to like think like everyone else and fit into boxes, right? Totally changed my life.
Love that. When I said, oh my God, I was like, wow, that's such an OG book. That's actually a really great book, but I feel like I just haven't heard about it.
I mean, it's so not relevant anymore, right? But it's 15 years ago or whatever, it totally changed.
Yeah, I'm such a huge fan of Tim Ferriss. I feel like he kind of like evolutionized himself from like being a book author to like now running like his own like, you know, YouTube channel or like all that kind of stuff. So I feel like, and then being an investor, so like I feel like he's like basically moved forward from like the book era for like a long time. So when you say it, I was like, wow, damn, like that's actually a really good book. Who would you invite to your dinner party?
Probably Elon Musk.
Love that. Who made the biggest impact in your career?
My parents.
Where can we find you outside of work?
I have a 2-year-old and a 3-week-old. That's like all I do now is dad mode and startup mode.
Last question. What's your favorite like avocado restaurant?
In Austin, Texas, is where we started, where Avocado started. They have something, a few restaurants do this, an avocado margarita, and oh my God, they are so good. Like, it sounds weird, you know, like what would that even taste like? And it doesn't like overly taste like avocados, but it's creamy and, you know, this pureed, not icy. It's so freaking good. Next time you go to Austin, Texas, go find a place that has an avocado margarita and enjoy yourself.
I love. By the way, I think like I think after 10, there's maybe like doubles people joining our live stream. This is like one of the most popular live stream, by the way. Nick, thank you so much.
Thank you, Grace.
I'm crying. I'm just like, I don't even want to leave here just because I see the numbers just go up like just minute by minute.
I got all day.
Okay, amazing. Thank you so much, Nick. You're awesome.
Thank you, Grace. This is great.
Awesome. Okay, let me quickly end stream. Oh my God. It's such a good